I've been in business specializing in sales and marketing since 1980. I'm an executive coach, an international trainer and speaker, an author, a TV show host, husband, and father. Like many, I've experienced a freak accident and almost died from it. The impact from a hit to the back of my head dissected an artery in my brain, and a few days later, I had a significant cerebellar stroke. Since my stroke, I've been researching and seeking answers to many of the questions that come to light when you live through a traumatic event like this. I'll share what I've learned about living full out, how to prosper in difficult times. We'll talk about some current events, and always end with some inspiration and encouragement that you just might need at this particular moment. This is Scott Schilling Speaks. Scott Schilling Speaks is powered by Be Connected, the premier online hub for business owners and professionals to connect and collaborate for greater success. To learn how Be Connected will help you and your business, go to bkfreefor3.com. Hi, this is Scott Schilling Speaks, and I'm Scott Schilling. Thanks for joining me here today. Now, I would take out a pad of paper and a pen because this is going to be a great show. How do I know that to be true? Because I know the quality of the person joining me here. He's an amazing trainer, trains with quality and integrity, does it the right way, a phenomenal speaker, a lot of fun, funny, just a great guy. Man, he's an amazing coach, tremendous father, and just a good all-around guy. Ray Higdon, please join me here on Scott Schilling Speaks.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, just thank you for being here. You do so much for so many, and I remember the first time I heard you, I was just absolutely amazed at the quality and the integrity of your presentation. That's got to be foundational for you, isn't it?
Wow, I really appreciate that. I've tried presenting a lot of other ways, and I just I prefer doing it in a way that I feel good about, that I with the goals of helping someone see something more inside of themselves.
Well, that's what I love about what you and your wife Jessica do in your trainings and everything. And I think a big part of why I resonate with your message so much is your desire to really take those inspired entrepreneurs and encourage them to play bigger. Now, that's awesome in itself, but it's the second part that I actually like. It's the make a positive impact. Tell me what that means to you and for your students.
Yeah, it's one of our 10 rules. It's actually not necessarily in order, but it's our rule number 10. We talk about this in our book that just came out with Hay House. But rule number 10 is make an impact, and it's interesting because I've seen you described as an expert on significance, right? And so I tie impact and significance very, very closely together. So I make an impact. I strive to make an impact so that I feel significant. It's not out of guilt or I should help my my fellow brother because I'm doing better. It's actually more of I want to impact others and help others because that actually makes me feel good, and I think that's worthy of pursuit. And so making an impact could be, how are you inspiring people that went through some of the things that you went through, right? And that's different for people. I'll give you one of my favorite examples of recent, at least, is we ran our first reality show we ran last year, I believe. And one of the contestants on there was a lady named Renee Adams. And Renee Adams had never shared her story. Her entire life had never shared her story, had never been a public speaker, had never presented in public. And something about the magic of our show had her share her story of a very tough story where she had been through physical abuse, she'd been through sexual abuse, she'd even been human trafficked.
Wow.
Tough story. And she had never shared it. And so I encouraged her. I said, listen, you're a survivor. You were able to overcome that. You could really inspire some people. And, and I hope that you do. Within 2 weeks, she was speaking at an abuse center. And then she spoke at the next one. 2 months ago, she was one of the speakers for the 17th annual International Conference Against Human Trafficking. And she shared her story in front of 19 countries. So that's making an impact. And it could be you sharing how you survived trauma, how you survived abuse, how you overcame obstacles. That could really make an impact. That could have someone listening that had never heard of someone going through the same things they had and inspire them to live a better life.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely awesome. I was part of an event on Saturday, and we were talking about really the Hope Summit, taking the pain and moving it to purpose. And one of the other speakers said, "I got the best story," and it was a rough story. Abused as a kid, all sorts of different things. And I came on, and while it's a weird thing to say, congratulated him for his story, meaning that he had lived through it and he had come through all that. I said, the reality is everybody's story is the best story because it's theirs. And you never know who you're going to be able to touch. It's one of the reasons for Scott Schilling Speaks is to come out and say, hey, I lived through a near-death experience, and, I was saved for a reason. Now we better be utilizing that reason to share for more people, especially in this day and age. Who would have known that we're trained for a time like this, right? The pandemic. So would you agree that the today is even going through the pandemic and everything that we've been living through is even a greater reason to have the courage and the permission to share and use your stories?
Yeah, no doubt. More people this year realized how financially fragile they were. And, there were, I don't know, how long has this been going on, right? But, 10 months ago or however long ago, right. There were a lot of people that had their careers figured out. They were going to work their way up the restaurant or work their way up the hotel. And a lot of industries have been disrupted. Lockdowns have shut down a lot of businesses, and some people think that's cold to say, but man, if you need that money to provide for your family, is it an essential? I mean, that's just my take on it. And so there's a lot of people, arguably more than ever. So I look back to 2009. 2009, I had lost it all in real estate. So I'm dead broke, personal foreclosure, over $1 million in debt, chased by bill collectors. And everyone I knew was also either in foreclosure or going into foreclosure. No one was hiring. My credit was shot. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I'm very, very grateful that a buddy of mine invited me to check out a network marketing opportunity, which I went on to become, the number one income earner of. Well, if you look at, today, you could really argue that in many areas it's worse than 2009. And that so many people are affected and, affected with fear, which is what the media is peddling big time. And people need hope. People need hope more than ever. People need some positivity in their life because they're getting plenty of negative. And so I just see it as crucial for people to be sharing their stories of overcome, for people to, be mixing in inspiration. And, today, we're recording this on a Wednesday. Something that we do with our group Rank Makers is we do Wealth Wednesday. Wealth Wednesday is where you do a random act of kindness for a stranger involved in financial exchange. So that could be paying for the person behind you in the drive-through, the toll booth. One of the most popular ones is to, sneak a few bucks in the diaper box or the baby formula or, dog food, whatever floats your boat. And every single week we get, and we track it weirdly enough, we get between 600 to 1,200 people that do a random act of kindness all around the world. And that kind of stuff is so needed right now, because there's a lot of people that have lost faith in humanity. There's a lot of people that are, you know, maybe they don't have the virus, but they got the fear virus, and it's almost like they have it. And so now it's just so important for more positive messaging to be out there and more inspiration.
Yeah, I love that. I love the concept of paying it forward the way you are, and the fact that you're teaching that. You know, back in 2003, I created an affirmation that I'm causing everything that I need, or I'm attracting everything that I need to cause over $100 million in charitable giving. And it wasn't
Awesome.
that I was necessarily going to do it. Now, if I can do that, that would be awesome. But I'm attracting the things to cause it. Well, one of the things is sharing the ideas, like you have through Rank Makers. And again, it's one of the reasons I respect you so much in what you do, because you're working to make that positive move. You talked about significance, and I guess so many people chase success so hard. And to me, success is getting caught on the hamster wheel of life. You attain a goal, or you reach a goal, you attain the goal. Well, gosh, now it's time for the next goal. And you never really smell the roses from the first one. Where significance to me is really the meaning behind attaining the goal. What is it that why is it important that you attain those things? So, again, I respect your take on that as we were going along there. Um, I agree with you too. The way so many today are both broke and broken. Now, the broke, like you back in 2009, you can come back from. You can eventually make money and you can restructure your world and things like that. But it's the broken that's the hard part. That's the loss of hope. That's the loss of um, of enthusiasm for life, quite frankly. And again, I know you do such a great job of it. How would you, in this environment, help somebody bust through their fear of what's going on right now?
Yeah, I mean, you know, one, it's, I mean, there's a few steps here. It's a very basic understanding of, you are going to experience whatever you're dominantly thinking of. So if you're dominantly thinking of negativity or getting sick or whatever, I mean, that you're going to locate. I like what George Zaleki said many years ago. He says the thinker thinks, the prover proves. And so as you think and your thoughts dominate a particular thing, you start to pick up evidence of that thing. So if Einstein said one of the most important questions, is, do you see the universe as friendly or hostile? And if you see the universe or the world as hostile, as negative, as scary, then you're just going to keep noticing more examples of that. And so it becomes a perpetual expectations into reality machine of negativity. You're gonna hear about someone who got sick. You're gonna hear about someone who fill in the blank. And so step one is know that you have the choice to focus your efforts and thoughts on what it is that you actually want. What do you want? If you're noticing all injustices but you're not doing anything about it, then you're doomed to constantly notice injustice.
Right.
If you're focused on solutions, if you're focused on, hey, you know what? If I make more money, then I can build an abuse center. If I make more money, then I can help fund the Boys and Girls Club that help the underprivileged kids that maybe their parents are working all the time that don't have time to mentor them. See, that's solving a problem. That's a solution based kind of mindset. And so, step one is starting in your thoughts of, if you think that, there's no way to, make money with what's going on, or there's no way to change your life with what's going on, then that's going to be your experience. So you have to, first look at, what am I constantly thinking of? And then what are the words that are coming out of my mouth? Because you get to keep what you speak. So whatever you're, saying, like if you're saying it's so hard right now, if you're saying that, things are so scary right now, then that is going to be your experience. And so it really starts there, not with a strategy, because, someone can just, flip a coin of a strategy. But if your dominant thoughts are negative, that strategy doesn't matter. It could be the greatest strategy of all time, day trading or network marketing or online sales or social media. That doesn't matter if your domination of thought is something negative. So first would be changing your thoughts.
I love that, and I love that statement. I've never heard it said that way, but I love the snapshot that it is. You get to keep what you speak.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awesome. It's so true. We were talking about this in an interview last week. I said, I say, do you see that as being positive or less than positive? See, I don't even say that the N word. I don't even let it come out. And so languaging becomes a big thing. So again, there's just another commonality in our belief system there. I love that. Now, you got a new book coming out, or just came out, Time, Money, and Freedom. I vote for all three. So, let's take a look at the book, and then the 10 simple rules to getting there. Tell me where the book, kind of the derivation of the book first, and then we'll get into some of the rules. How's that?
Yeah. It's Time, Money, Freedom. This is what it looks like. And it's
just happen to have a copy right there.
Hey, imagine that. It's the 10 simple rules to redefine what's possible and radically reshape your life. And it is, I always give them a shout out, is our Hay House publication. They've been great partners, and we're very grateful to work with them. So, my wife and I, we've done several strategy books, right? We've done social media for network marketing book. We've done leadership for network marketing books, or a book. And this one is a little different. And we wanted to appeal, if I had to really boil it down, we wanted to appeal to the person that's wanting to improve their finances and relationships, whether they're in network marketing, not in network marketing, whether they're an entrepreneur or not, like literally anyone that could be sitting in a cubicle, could be sitting at home, could be unemployed. And we wanted to appeal to, that person that wants to improve their finances and their relationships. And so we looked at, okay, what are the principles that we use to go from, me growing up in a very abusive home, being dead broke twice, being just not that long ago, worked for, a county government in a cubicle, not real happy or joyous or anything like that, to, raising $500,000 for March of Dimes. This year we raised $100,000 to fight human trafficking, to making millions and millions of dollars, becoming an Inc. 5000 company. And so like what were, if we had to boil them down, what were those principles that my wife and I used for her to get out of her makeup job at Nordstrom, to us building this company and having this, time, money, freedom. And so, we broke it down into 10 rules. And one of them we discussed, which is make an impact. And the reason that one's important, in the beginning, if you're really struggling, if you're, broke, or if you're really struggling with money, make an impact may not be on your highest list. Because when I started, my first was, I'm sick and tired of not being able to, take my kids vacationing. I'm sick and tired of, I couldn't even take her out for dinner. She was paying for every dinner because she at least had a job. And so, in the beginning, make an impact wasn't like, okay, I'll get there. First, let's make an impact on me, because I'm dead broke and I'm depressed and I want to feel better about me first. And so, make an impact. But the importance of make an impact is it can create you into a perpetual consistency. Because there will be a point, if you follow the 10 rules, there will be a point where you don't have to worry so much about money. And for me, I think that came around. It wasn't I don't think a crazy amount, but I think right around $30,000 a month. I'm like, you know what? I don't really have to worry about money now. I'm like, not that I'm the richest guy in the world, but I can kind of, I can have a great life at that level. And what I've seen over the years is I've seen a lot of people that they go and they reach whatever, 100,000 a year, 250,000 a year, even $1 million a year. And they kind of like, they don't have any really financial goals left, or they're the big fish in the little pond. And so I've seen them slide backwards. If you focus instead of limelight or just money, and you focus on impact, there's a never ending amount of impact. You can't build too many children's hospitals. You can't build too many abuse centers. You can't build too many water wells or schools in Guatemala. You just can't, right? You're not going to run out of, there's nothing left to impact, right? You just can't. I mean, my chiropractor, actually, he runs mission trips over to Africa. And, he told me this story of, him taking supplies over there, and this little 5-year-old kid hands him his a pair of underwear, and the kid breaks down crying. I mean, he's never seen a clean pair of underwear in the 5 years of his life, and literally tears hugs him. And it's like, there's so much we could all be doing, and making a difference, and making all of the work worthwhile. And so, that's, part of why we created this book. We wanted to help that person that, doesn't know how to change their life, but really wants to, doesn't, realizes that, life is not a dress rehearsal. You get one shot at this thing, and they know that their life isn't meant to be in some job that doesn't serve them or doesn't make them happy. Now, this isn't a bash against jobs. If you love your job, awesome, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Like right. Congratulations. It's the settling. It's the saying, I don't like this job, but I better stay here because I can't do anything better. That's who we're trying to intercept. That's who we're trying to really help, and help them see a different vision for their life, because you got blood pumping through your veins. That's sacred, and you can do amazing things if you choose to.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. One of my mentors, one time, actually, it's what put me into the speaking business. They came and thumped me on my chest after hearing me speak and said, son, God's granted you capabilities that most people don't have. You can stand in front of a room and communicate a message. And if you're not using that fully, you're robbing humanity. You're cheating humanity. In fact, you're being selfish. And it was like, whoa, yep. Back up a little bit, dude, right? Back off. And then they said, in fact, because of those talents and capabilities, you've got an obligation to make as much money as you can. And I went, oh, it's all about the money, isn't it? And they went, you think it's all about the money? It's not about the money. It's about the two things that come with money: the good you can do and the influence you can have. And that was that light bulb moment. So I totally agree with you. And again, it's amazing that many times the people who have great wherewithal at one time, or even multiple times, had no wherewithal, right? Like you say, flat broke. Again, you can come back from broke. You can make more money if you put the strategies in place and you put the actions behind them. But it's the broken if you've lost your hope. Here's the good news. We got plenty of people to cast hope on right now because of the pandemic. So I love that part of, that part of the book. What's another simple rule that will really help the audience here today?
Yeah, I think, the one that we're getting, and by the way, that is, there's really three main takeaways that people get from the book. One, you can create a great life despite having a bad past. Two, you can inspire the people that have been through the similar things that you have. And three, you making more money isn't greedy. It gives you the ability to make a bigger impact. Just to your point, you can only donate so many of your hours, right? We can only volunteer so much. Not to take that away, that's awesome, but you can only do so much of that. There's not an unlimited supply of your time. I would say the rule that we're probably getting the biggest feedback on, this has now been out for 3 weeks, I believe, and it's in local bookstores, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, of course, on Kindle and on Audible. And I think the one that I'm getting the most feedback on is rule number 2, called pluck your weeds. And pluck your weeds is interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's a little twist, right? So most um, contemporary training is, like you said, don't focus on the negative, right? Focus on what you want, focus on the positive. Well, a lot of times there are things in our life that are not congruent with who we want to be.
Right.
And so I can give you a bunch of different examples around this. Some think that pluck your weeds means eliminating people in your life that are negative. It could, but it's not limited to that. So I'll give you probably my favorite example. We were at my wife and I. We were at a charity auction, and we're on the board for that particular charity. It's for the Southwest Florida Children's Charities, and which I saw in your reel. You had a Fort Myers ticket on there. I'm like, yeah, man. Are you in Southwest Florida?
No, I'm in Dallas, Texas.
That's what I thought you were in Texas. Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But we're at this charity function, and one of the other board members comes up and says, "Hey, did you see the Belize trip?" And I'm like, "Nope." And she said, "It's only for 5 couples. It's a private island, private jet, private yacht, private chef. Sounds amazing. It's 5-day trip, or 5 couples, 5 days." And my wife is like, "Oh, that sounds amazing. Oh my God. Me? That sounded like a nightmare." And to me, I hear it and I'm just like, I don't like the sound of this. And then I don't express that, right? So I just kind of think like, that sounds like hell to me. And then I look to, Jess, and Jess is like, oh my God, oh, that big, wow. Right. And she's just so excited. And I didn't say anything. On the way home, I'm like, man, what's wrong with me? Like, why, how come? Like, that should sound awesome. I understand that rationally, that should sound awesome, but it didn't to me. It sounded like hell. And so I always see our relationship as I don't take it for granted. I don't take it that, well, she's married to me and now we're together forever. And regardless of how I treat her, like, I see it as I got to earn that relationship. I have to earn it every day through compliments, taking care of her, surprising her, romancing her, et cetera. And so I thought to myself, I'm like, man, I don't want to be that husband. I don't want to be the guy that she's super excited for something that should be awesome, and I'm the meh. And so I decided to dive into that. I decided to pluck that weed. And so I worked with a coach, a mindset coach, and I'm like, what is my problem here? Like, why did that particularly trigger me to think only negative? And it took a little bit of work. It took some time, but it came down to something, weirdly enough. It came down to something that happened in the 3rd grade. So I grew up in a house where I was very abused, physically abused. So I remember going to kindergarten with a bloody nose and having to tell people I ran into a door. I remember summers where I would have to wear a turtleneck because the claws in my neck were so deep.
Wow.
And, and I was almost every morning of my life up until 12, I was woken up by being thrown against a closet and stomped. I actually, still, like, to this day, sleep in a ball to anticipate something, right? And so it wasn't ideal. Well, in 3rd grade, my teacher knew that something was off. And she goes to me one day and says, "Hey, I think you should, I'd like you to start meeting with this person right here," which was a guidance counselor. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what this was all about. Right. But I start meeting with the guidance counselor, and I start sharing some of the stories of what's going on. I start to trust her, and it feels good because I've never shared, the stuff that was going on with anybody, because who would I share it with? I wasn't allowed to hang out with people. I was constantly, outside by myself, and, couldn't have friends over, couldn't go to friends' house. And so it felt nice. And so I'm sharing all the stuff that's going on at home because, she's asking the questions. Well, one day I walk in and it's our regular meeting. It's her, and my dad and my stepmom, and who was the abuser. And she goes on to share everything I've ever told her. And she did it because she thought they were too crazy, that I was making them up for attention. And
Wow.
so that was the day I stopped trusting anybody. I literally, from that day, for the rest of my life, I've stopped trusting anybody. So I can get up on a stage and, rock a stage and, and do my thing and feel very good about it. But if you want to have a personal conversation with me outside of that stage, I'm gonna do something to block that personal connection. I'm gonna go to my hotel room. I'm gonna do something, and that's been misinterpreted over the years of egotistical or something like that. It's actually out of fear of allowing people close. So my instant translation of that Belize trip was trapped. I'll have to talk to people. I'll have to let them in. I'll have to have conversations, and it scared the hell out of me. And so by plucking that weed, and that this is kind of a deep weed, right? It's not a simple one. But by plucking that weed, I learned that, hey, you know what? People may betray me. I may have betrayal. That happens, right? But I know that I'm a good person. If I'm betrayed, it's their loss. So that by me addressing that very difficult and hard to locate weed, I've been able to trust people better. I no longer antagonize and have social anxiety over going to parties. I mean, I remember my wife would be like, hey, they're having a party over there, and I would just have this anxiety, and I would go because I want to be a good husband, but I would have this anxiety, and I didn't want to be there, and I'd say, hey, you want to go? I'm always trying to leave early because of that anxiety. I don't have that now. I've by plucking that weed, I've eliminated that and altered my personality in that pursuit of being the best, person, but also best husband that I can possibly be. So that's one elaborate example of plucking your weeds.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing that because, again, from a vulnerability side, but also the understanding that the experts have all lived through issues themselves. I'm working
Sure.
with a coach myself right now, and we were addressing some things. Same thing. Typically, a lot of that mindset and a lot of those behaviors and are established before the age of 8, and so
Right.
you don't even recognize that they've been impeding or creating patterns or doing things for a long time. And I've had a couple betrayal issues myself throughout my
Yep.
career. And you got to get to the point where you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And
Right.
you got to punch through. And so I can totally understand the parallel in working on them. And I love the fact that it's the plucking the weed is, yes, there may be weeds in your garden, but they also may be in the gardener, and
Right.
you've got to check that out. I think that's really powerful. How about
Well
one
said.
more? How about one more?
Um, One more would let me see. Let's just pull from here.
Check out the
Um,
resource guide there. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. Um, I would say one thing that rule number 3: take your why and turn it into a vision.
Yeah.
And so it was always interesting to me. Network marketing is always, you got to have a why. You got to have a why that makes you cry. And okay, I get that, but it was interesting because I saw two things that um, that made me question that. Okay, so one is I would talk to people that had the same why for 5 years and 10 years. They've literally been saying, I'm going to retire my spouse for 10 years.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, they've mastered reciting the why,
Yes.
but they
Exactly.
haven't mastered the work to actually accomplish the why. And in fact, upon like asking questions and trying to figure this out, like I'm trying to like decipher where's the misconnect, where's the misalignment here. And so what I believe and what I've witnessed is the misalignment is when someone says their why, it's always external, right? It's always, I want to help kids in Africa. I want to help my spouse. I want to do this. It's always external. And it always is a reward every time they share it. So if I say, I want to retire my spouse, oh my goodness, that's so amazing. So I get a little bit of a payoff,
Right.
even though I haven't done anything. So if I'm chasing payoff, well, it's a hell of a lot easier to just share a why than to do the work.
Yes, for sure.
Now, the second problem that I saw where I'm a freak of nature when it comes to being consistent. So on July 15th of 2009, I decided I'm going to do a video a day, and I've never missed a day because I'm a lunatic. So over 11 years, I've done at least one video a day. And people would ask me, they're like, oh man, you're so consistent. What's a daily method of operation? What's a good routine? Which we actually do share. I don't know this one off the top of my head. That is rule number 7. Rule number 7 is create successful habits. But so I would share. I would say, well, I do this. This is my daily routine. This is a daily method of operation. And I would share it. I would feel good because I shared so fully, and they wouldn't do it. And so you got, people that are reciting their why, not doing the work.
Right.
People that are asking for what work to do, not doing the work. Why do I do the work? Why am I such a lunatic? And so what I realized is it's not awareness of a routine. It's not awareness of habits, because everyone knows. You want to lose weight, eat less, work out more. End of book. Congratulations, right? It's amazing, right? I had no idea. No, everyone knows. Everyone knows less food, more exercise, lose weight. Bada bing, right? So it's not awareness of what to do. And it's also not what are the external reasons that sound really good if I do them. It's something different that bridges that gap. And it is, I believe, a vision of who you want to become. Yeah. So someone I really, really resonate with is the Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith. I've shared the stage with him a couple times. He's amazing. And he said, one of his quotes, he's got two that I really, really love. One of his quotes is, pain pushes you until a vision pulls you. Nice. So the vision of who I want to become is what's always pulling me. It doesn't care that if I don't feel good, if my tummy aches, if it's raining outside, if I don't have good Wi-Fi, that none of that matters, because the vision of who I want to become is actually a ruthless dictator that doesn't care about any excuses that exist on the planet. Doesn't matter. And so it's having a vision. It's taking, okay, I want to have this amazing house. I want to retire my spouse. I want to build a school. I want to build an abuse center. I want to provide more money to the homeless or whatever. Take all those things and ask yourself, who do I need to become to accomplish those things? And what would that person be doing? So it's the connecting of daily routine, associating it with the reasons you're doing this, and that emerges from it a vision of who you actually want to become, which is unstoppable. And so when you decide upon and you move into a vision of who you want to become, which may not be commercially digestible, you always get buy-in when you share a why. I want to build a school, I want to build water wells or whatever. You always get buy-in on that and you get a little pat on your back, way to go, even though you haven't done anything, right? But a vision of who you want to become that would be the person that would build the water wells, that would build the abuse centers, that would also knows they have to do the work. And so a vision, I find, is much more powerful of who do you want to become? How do you want to be known? How do you want your great grandchildren to describe you that you'll never meet? How are they going to talk about you at family occasions? How are you going to be remembered? What are they going to say at your funeral? And so that's very different than just these external whys that sound good, or just the awareness of what to do. And so, you creating a vision for who you want to be and all that involves is the key to consistency. And you can reverse engineer it. And if you're not consistent, you do not have a compelling vision, because with a compelling vision, consistency isn't a choice. No choice. I don't have an option.
It's just what you have to do.
That's what you got to do.
Yeah,
That's what the
it's just
person
like,
with that vision would do.
yeah, why are you even bothering to ask me? I got to do this. Yeah,
Of
no,
course, exactly,
I
exactly.
I really love that because um, I've shared on the show before. I had a client one time that said, "I'm stuck." I said, "Good, move." They said, "You don't seem to understand. I'm stuck." I said, "No, I understand. Move." And they said, "No, I'm really stuck." I said, "Good, really move." And they go, "What are you saying?" I said, "Can you feel your right foot?" "Yeah." "Well, move it." "Okay, I did." "Well, you're no longer stuck." I mean,
Congrats.
it takes action. Everything takes action. Again, and I actually think that kind of ties a lot of this together because we're in a time right now where this pandemic has got so much fear, and so many, the news agencies and things are touting this fear. People think that there's only fight and flight, right? That I'm going to stand up and rear up and get you, or I'm going to run like heck. It's the third one that's the most problematic, and that's freeze. And freeze is
Amen.
the thing that takes you away from your why. Because I know that I really want to accomplish this, but I'm afraid to take a step. What are they going to do? Eat you? I mean,
Right.
it's not going to happen, right? I know that it was part of, even when we were putting the Open together, somebody said, "I can't believe you put your MRI of your brain after your stroke in there." And I said, "Hey, I was told I wasn't supposed to be living." To the point where it upset me so much, I said, sorry to disappoint you. I've always been an overachiever. I lived. I mean, it's like, come on. Why are people trying to throw these external forces at you when you're already suffering? Again, that's why I really
Right.
respect what you and Jessica do,
Mm.
training through Rainmakers and all your programs to really lift people up and give them permission to take the actions necessary to accomplish that why. I love the
Right.
visioning side of that. That's awesome.
I by the way, I love that you I love seeing the MRI. Man, I'd have shirts. I'd have shirts. I'd be walking down the street and people are like, "What's that on your shirt?" "Hey, I was told I wouldn't live. I survived, man." Like that'd be a conversation piece. I would have that on my business card, little MRI. To remind, but seriously, to remind people that we don't know when it's our time.
Right.
And so like I just think that's so powerful.
Well, it's one of those where I was actually in the middle of an infomercial shoot and we stopped to go to lunch and I'm walking along and all of a sudden my legs stopped. Heck, I didn't know what
Wow.
was going on either. I was on two tingling stumps, and then the extension of the story. But you don't know when your time is. You don't know. I think so many of the people in our audience have been built, especially for a time like this,
Yeah.
especially to come together. One of the analogies I use is the Lone Ranger, who may or may not have a big team to support them. They're really pretty good at what they do. They've been pretty successful. But the Lone Ranger is now looking for a cavalry of Lone Rangers. Kind of putting that achiever together into a cavalry for a time like this, to lift people up and say, you know what, we're all going through it. It's difficult for everybody. So many people are having so much trauma, and it's so dramatic in their lives. Guess what? There's a part of that in everybody's life, and yet other people are still thriving. So maybe we can wrap it up with, how would you suggest people thrive in an economy like this right now?
Yeah. You know, pulling out the old reference guide again. We talk
All
about
good.
this in rule number 6, prepare the ground. And so now more than ever in the history of mankind, people are looking for ways to make a living, or at least make some extra money, from home. And you have different options. I'm partial because although I no longer actively build a team, we coach a lot of network marketers, but I love network marketing. I see it as the lowest risk, lowest overhead way for the average ordinary person to start a business. You don't have to, you don't have to go on Shark Tank and get a big loan and give away 50%. You don't have to do, trademark attorneys, patent attorneys, figure out customer service, or mix cookies in your basement or anything like that. You just got to ask people if they're open to taking a look at what you're doing. So I would, with whatever, if I think most people were, but if you were affected, financially, take a look at, hey, is there a way for me to make additional income? And that is very important. It's important for you to feel good about yourself and be a producer, a provider of value, a provider of solutions, and of course to not be so financially fragile. Know that more people are shopping from home, more people are wanting the ability to work from home and have that flexibility. When some people obviously lost jobs. Some people had their kids home, had to, figure out something with their job. And so, the idea of the ability to make money using social media and from home is just, never before in human history has there been more of a demand there. And I think that's why you see a lot of network marketers thriving, a lot of online and social media marketers thriving. And that is something that, maybe post-pandemic doesn't have to look like pre-pandemic. Maybe it's not just get the same kind of job and hope that something like this doesn't happen again. Maybe it's time to reinvent yourself and say, I've worked from home now for 15 years. And, the last, job I had, I worked in a cubicle at an insurance company, and that was 15 years ago. And I can tell you, I wouldn't trade, this freedom for anything. Even if someone came and offered me a humongous salary, more than I'm making now, I love the freedom of watching my 1-year-old son grow up, my 5-year-old daughter grow up, of being able to, spend time. Last night we're at the park with them. I'll take them for a walk here shortly. And so, that ability to have that kind of freedom is just awesome. And so, instead of looking at, oh man, it's so sad that all of this happened, look at what can you control. Now you can't control what's happened. You can't control, unfortunately, who's, passed away from COVID. You can't control, what these, crazy politicians don't do, whatever, but you can control what you do, and you can control, your thoughts and your words and your actions. And so that's what you should focus on. It's why when I'm in a plane and there's a lot of turbulence, I don't get upset because I can't do anything about it. Like I continue reading my book. My wife is like freaking out. She's like, ah. I'm like, why should I freak out? I can't do anything about it. I'm not climbing out there, fixing the wing or something. Like if it goes, it goes. I can't do anything about it. Yeah. And so I just don't stress, or I do my very best not to stress about things I have no control over. But I'm very much focused on what can I control. I can control doing exercise, reading. I can control the activity that I do, the thoughts that I have. And that's what I focus on.
Great words of wisdom. I really appreciate you being here, Ray. How do people get a hold of you? How do they take advantage of your genius?
Well, I appreciate that. Our book is at tmfbook.com, tmfbook.com, and you can check that out. It's on every major place you can imagine, tmfbook.com, or you can catch me on really any of the social medias, Ray Higdon, Higdon. But I appreciate you having me on here for sure, and I hope that it brought some value.
No, absolutely brought value. Thank you so much for being here today. Folks, hopefully you've been taking some notes, some great wisdom shared by Ray today. He's a quality class act. And if you want to learn from somebody, just an amazing person to learn from with quality and integrity. I thank you for being here, and we'll see you again next week on Scott Schilling Speaks. Remember, you can always text "What Now" to 72,000. What now to 72,000. We'll get you more information on all of our guests. You can see the existing shows. And again, Scott Schilling signing off for now. See you again next week. God bless.
Connections are the lifeblood to grow your business, but current times have made quality connections hard to find, if not impossible. This is why Be Connected created the Connection Generator, a highly sophisticated, powerful search engine algorithm that will completely revolutionize the way you network and accelerate your results. Now you can experience the Connection Generator for free. Once set up, instantly the Connection Generator delivers the right people for your business using its proprietary artificial intelligence matchmaking technology. Think of it like dating software, but for the business world. We just changed the questions. Instant messaging, multiple ways to connect, and a 5-star user-generated rating system creates an experience that eliminates spam and wasted effort without ever leaving your home or office. During your free trial, you'll see the Connection Generator is super simple to use. In fact, people from all backgrounds and industries, from CEOs to entrepreneurs to work-at-home moms, use the Connection Generator to find their ultimate business connections. When you sign up for your free trial offer, you'll discover the Connection Generator scans industry, geographic location, and even target audiences to match you to the very best of the best, to include highly successful leaders just like you. So if you're ready to start leveraging technology, you're just a click away from activating your free trial and instantly connecting to exact matches just for you. Once you're a member, best of all, we can show you how to qualify for free continuing membership. It's our way of saying thanks for being a part of Be Connected. So what are you waiting for? Click now and get started today for free.